In the Republic of Korea, according to the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, adopted as an international commitment, all people who have not reached the age of 18 are called as child. Adults often refer to children by the warm nickname of a growing future memory or a sprout with a hopeful future. The reason for this nickname is due to the thought that children are the main characters who will lead our future. However, the reality of children is by no means warm. Representatively, more than 400 cafes and restaurants in Korea have declared no kids zone. Moreover, there were cases where more than half of adults banned children from entering resident-only cafes. In addition, children-related laws and policies are also created and changed by adults, even without the opinion of the child is reflected. Like this, the adults of our country do not respect the voices of children. Why? Adults have deeply rooted in their minds that children are still young and immature, so they can face some degree of discrimination. Because of this, the voices of children become more and more buried. But now, it must be different. The perception that a child is just a kid must now disappear. We must show that children have the right to speak up and that children's voices can change the world. Have you ever felt frustrated by being ignored for being a child? The National Children's Assembly in Korea is for you. What is the National Children's Assembly in Korea? In November 1989, the UN General Assembly adopted the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, which regulates all rights related to children. In other words, what children should enjoy as children are set out as international commitment, so that adults cannot carelessly ignore children. Accordingly, Korea also approved the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child on November 20, 1991, and promised to guarantee the rights of children. However, issues such as domestic violence, school bus incidents are still only discussed between adults. In particular, it was very rare for adults in Congress to make laws for children without voting rights. Contrary to the promise, the position of the child, who is the party, has always been behind the scenes. Then, in June 2002, the children who attended the UN General Assembly special session on children as a Korean delegation came back after watching foreign children actively speaking out their voices and participating in society. And they asked, we also asked to hold the National Children's Assembly in Korea. The National Children's Assembly in Korea, which has been held since 2003, has become a venue for children to freely share their opinions on the subject they choose. When dealing with policies and issues that affect children, the National Children's Assembly in Korea must have the opinions of the child concerned, and the children's opinions are actively reflected in the policy, making an effort to create a good world for children. Let's take a look at what activities can be done at the National Children's Assembly in Korea this time. First, we have a group discussion and have time to share the thoughts of the children. Issues, experiences as a child that were difficult to speak out about due to societal views and views on how to make the world a better place are all welcome in this space. No one gets offended, interferes, or told otherwise. Because the National Children's Assembly in Korea is a place for free child participation. There is also a time to share the previous group stories with other participating children. During this time, you can share more diverse opinions with more children, right? After that, we take time to adopt a policy resolution at the child's level based on the shared opinions. In other words, it is a process in which we as children organize the stories we want to tell adults in an appropriate form that can be recognized at a glance, and ultimately decide which resolution to deliver to the National Assembly and the government. After adopting the resolution, the presidency is elected only by the children's vote. The elected chairman should represent all the children who participated in the National Children's Assembly in Korea more than anyone else to actively promote the rights of children. Just because the National Children's Assembly in Korea is over, it doesn't mean we're giving up interest in children's rights. If you're a child representative who participated in the National Children's Assembly in Korea, you can apply for monitoring activities to promote children's rights. Through monitoring activities, we can check whether our story is well communicated to adults and that our story is being realized. Isn't the National Children's Assembly in Korea really meaningful? Some of you may heard of children's rights for the first time, and some of your friends may think, is child rights so important? Participating in the National Children's Assembly in Korea and carrying out various activities related to the rights of children will allow you to feel and realize how necessary it is to be respected for our rights. Do you want a world where is a great world for children to live in? Would you like to experience your story changing the world? If so, let's make it together at the National Children's Assembly in Korea.